Hello, my name's Roisin and I'm here to recommend some more books. Hello friends! So as you probably know, I love recommending books. I have a load of books on my channel where I recommend my top 10 favourites in various different genres. So if you'd like to check them out, I will leave a playlist to all of those videos in the cards above. However, today I thought I would mix it up a bit and do a recommendations video that I've seen a lot of on BookTube, but is a slightly different format to my usual. And that is, if you like this book, then you will like this book recommendation. So basically, I'm going to hold up a load of books and tell you books that you probably will like if you liked the first one. And I will also tell you why, because maybe the thing about that book that I love is not what you loved about it. But if you did, then you will definitely love the other book that I am going to recommend. I have got 14 pairs here to recommend you. Some of these are quite well known, some of these less so, but without further ado, let's get into the books. If you liked White Teeth by Zadie Smith for its exploration of modern British life from various different cultural aspects, it's focused on people of colour and it's following of a whole multiple generations of people from various different families, then you will also love Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. This one won the Booker Prize last year and was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, so it is not exactly an unknown book, but I definitely think that it has the same comedy, the same close character analysis and lots of different, and also the same look at a Britain that isn't often included in prize-winning works of literature. Both books are funny, follow a broad range of characters and explore racism in the UK, so I would definitely recommend, if you like White Smith by Zadie Smith, then pick up Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. Number 2 on my list is one that I have absolutely loved this year, and that is The Mercies by Kiran Millwood Hargrave. If you like the remote island setting far away from other people, historical fiction exploring the lives of women in small communities, the interactions between the church and an older religion, and a strong sense of atmosphere and setting and a sense of impending foreboding, then I would recommend The Island Child by Mollie Aitken. The Island Child is set on a small island off the coast of Ireland and follows Una both when she lives in that island in the middle of the 20th century and also when she lives in Canada as an adult. It follows her experience growing up in this small community where the church is really important, and it also is influenced by Irish folklore and the folklore of sulkies and the way that people in small communities treat people who are different from them. So if you love The Mercies, I definitely think this is one for you too. Next, I have a classics recommendation. If you loved Pride and Prejudice, which I think is one of the most beloved classics of all time, for its enemies to lovers relationship, its exploration of class in Georgian England, its social satire and its intense longing looks and gentle touches, then I would recommend North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is a similar unconventional couple relationship who in the beginning do not understand each other, who are from two different worlds, but instead of being from the lower gentry to the very, very rich gentry, this in North and South we follow Margaret Hale, who is a young woman from the south of England whose father was a rector in a rural parish when they moved to the north of England to Milton, a industrial heartlands town in the middle of the Industrial Revolution. And the man at the centre of this is one of the factory owners. I love this book for the relationship, but also for the way that it discusses class and actually involves the working class, which Jane Austen never ever does. I think that it definitely has the same amount of swoon-worthy romance, but also an excellent amount of class and social commentary. Next, one of my favourite series of all time, if you loved Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. Yes, I know this is Bring Up the Bodies. I don't have a physical copy of Wolf Hall. But if you loved the Wolf Hall trilogy by Hilary Mantel for the attention to detail of the historical setting, the brilliant atmosphere and the huge cast of characters and intrigues that they get up to among themselves, then I would recommend The Luminaries by Eleanor Catton, which is about the New Zealand gold rush and a murder and disappearance and robbery that has happened at that time. Whilst it doesn't have the political intrigue or the royalty and the name association that you get from this, or the intense focus on one character, what it does have is a broad cast of characters with lots of different, really clearly differentiated voices. The reason that I think you would love it is because it is another chunky book with intense amounts of historical accuracy and historical detail, which I absolutely loved to fall into. It has strong voices, it has a lot of the intrigue and mystery, and it has the dark foreboding atmosphere too, which I equally loved. Next up, if you loved The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry for its slantwise look on Victorian England, its exploration of Victorian science and understanding, its look at class and hysteria, I would recommend The Confessions of Frannie Langton by Sarah Collins. This is a very different book. This is about an enslaved woman who has been taken from Jamaica and given as a gift to a man in England in 1826, despite the fact that slavery is supposedly outlawed. And at the beginning, we know that she has been accused of the murder of of the man of the house and his wife. There is also queer representation, which is also true of The Essex Serpent. This book has such strong Gothic vibes, but I also love that it is a part of history that is often avoided or not explored in historical fiction. There is not a lot of mention of race in The Essex Serpent, and I think having such a well explored immersive book that focuses on that period of history is really worthwhile reading. I think that the exploration of race science and the understandings of biology that were trying to be used in order to justify slavery and the treatment of Black people is really well done, in the same way that the science of The Essex Serpent is really well done. Both are modern Gothic novels with a more modern eye put on them. Feminism in the case of The Essex Serpent, and feminism and race in the case of The Confessions of Frannie Langton. Next, if you loved How to Be Both by Ali Smith for its explorations of gender and sexuality, its detached writing style, its look at the relationship between a mother and daughter, then I would recommend Hot Milk by Deborah Levy. So this is a book set in Spain about a mother and daughter. The mother has a mysterious illness that no one can diagnose, where she is sometimes paralysed from the waist down. So they go to Spain to see what's wrong with her, and it seems almost like it might be hysteria. It explores our main character's understanding of her own sexuality, obsession, and her understanding of her own roots. And it has that same detached quality that Ali Smith's writing has, as well as the beautiful prose and the explorations of art and history and language that I think are really beautiful from Ali Smith's work. Next, if you loved Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozie Adichie for its 20th century historical fiction, for its epic romance, and for its look at a period of war from multiple different perspectives and different class perspectives, then I would recommend A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende. A Long Petal of the Sea follows two people who are fleeing fascism in Spain after the end of the Spanish Civil War and end up in refugee camps in France, and finally are transported by boat to Chile, where they end up again political refugees later on. It follows the span of the majority of the 20th century and this relationship between these two people that is at the core, in the same way that it is true in Half of a Yellow Sun. It has a similar almost melodramatic feel, but in a way that really works for the historical fiction setting. You feel very close to all of the people represented, and in the same way it follows different perspectives, in the same way that Half of a Yellow Sun has the couple in Uboland and also the couple in Lagos, and the outsider Englishman. A Long Petal of the Sea follows people who live in Chile, and a family that are Chilean, as well as these two Spanish people who have fled to Chile as refugees. So I think if you love the idea of it being like an epic and also having romance and also having conflict, then I think that you will enjoy both of those books. Next, if you enjoyed Kim Ji-young, born 1982 by Cho Nam-Joo, for its exploration of the experiences of women in South Korea, for its slightly detached writing style with a twist at the end, and for its every woman character, then I would recommend Braised Pork by An Yu, which is about a woman in Beijing who one day finds that her husband is dead in the bath with a picture of a half man, half fish drawing next to him, and she ends up trying to find out what is the cause of the fish drawing, and what led to her husband's suicide. And it has elements of fabulist or magical realist parts to it, dreams, and she ends up going to Tibet as well. The writing in this book is fairly detached, because the main character feels fairly detached from the whole of her life, and it explores her relationships with men and the position of women in Beijing in modern day. And the ideas of relationships and marriage that are present in China, and also her relationship with her mother and her aunts in a similar way to Kim Ji-young. It is more magical and a bit weirder than Kim Ji-young, born 1982, but I definitely think if you like the vibe of one, you'll like the vibe of the other. And if you like short books, if that's the thing you really enjoy, then I would recommend both of those to you as well. Next, if you liked Pachinko by Min Jin Lee for its exploration of a family across a period of history, for its for its historical fiction set in Asia, this time in South Korea and Japan, and for its sweeping writing style that is not exceptionally lyrical, then I think that you would love How We Disappeared by Jing Jing Lee. How We Disappeared is a story set in Singapore during the Second World War, and also in Singapore in modern day, and it follows a woman who was kidnapped from her family and taken to be a comfort woman by the Japanese during the war, and so covers a similar period of history to Pachinko, but in a different part of Southeast Asia. It is equally harrowing. There is a lot of racism and violence and sexual violence, which is also present in Pachinko. And it also follows the family across the time period from how that event affected them through to the modern day, and about the reconnections of family, because How We Disappeared also follows a little boy who has found out that his grandmother is not who he thought she was. And so if you are really into family sagas and this period of history, I think both of these books would work for you. If you liked Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Thien for the incredibly beautiful language, for the exploration of conflict and what happens to the small people inside a big conflict, and for the flashes of vignettes set throughout it, then I would recommend The Shadow King by Maza Mengiste. The Shadow King is set during the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in the 1930s, and also in Ethiopia on the brink of revolution in the 1970s, and it follows a woman who becomes a woman warrior, which is a period of history that I did not know much about, as well. Just as Do Not Say We Have Nothing, it was about the Cultural Revolution in China, and both explore close interpersonal relationships and how they happen and how they change throughout the course of a conflict, and a serious repression of people. There is a lot of violence in both of them again, but I think that if you liked the beautiful writing and the epic style of Do Not Say We Have Nothing, then you will appreciate the same thing in The Shadow King, where the women warriors of Ethiopia are risen to the level of Greek mythology, with a chorus and lots of references to Greek epics. If you liked Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders for its experimental style, it's approaching a period of history that is relatively well known from a very different point of view, its wide cast of characters, and its just overall strangeness, then I think you'll like Everything is Illuminated by Jonathan Safran Foer, which follows a man who travels to Ukraine in order to understand what happened to his family during the Second World War, and also follows the life of a Ukrainian shtetl from the middle of the 17th century, I believe, up until this point in the Second World War. So it has the dual narratives in the same way that Lincoln in the Bardo has, and it is also a very experimental novel with lots going on, and lots that is important on the page as well as in the actual story, which is the same as Lincoln in the Bardo. It is one that you definitely have to want weird structural things in order to enjoy. But it is also one that is incredibly poignant and moving and explores a range of history in the same way that Lincoln in the Bardo does. If you loved Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams for the frank and sometimes crude sense of humour, for the exploration of race in modern day Britain, for the female friendships and the romantic trials of Queenie herself, then I think you would like Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Both of these books are books that I have loved, that have had main characters, Queenie and Ifemelu, who are really realistic and vulnerable women represented in fiction, and who feel very vibrant and real, and who are also very funny, at the same time as putting themselves in positions that are not the best for them, but you can see why they are decisions that they have come to. Americana tells the story of Ifemelu and Obinze, who lived in Nigeria, but during the student protests both get out, one to America and one to become an undocumented immigrant into the United Kingdom. And it is mostly about Ifemelu's experience being a person who didn't think of herself as black until she got to America, and her experience of race and racism in America in a very humorous way, but there are a lot of dark undertones and a lot of things that happen that feel really uncomfortable, and the same is true of Queenie. So that is it. That is all of the books that I wanted to recommend to you today. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found some new books to recommend to you. As I was saying, if you liked Half of a Yellow Sun, then you will like Long Petal of the Sea. If you liked Long Petal of the Sea, I think you should try Half of a Yellow Sun, and the same is true for all of them. They work both ways. Please let me know in the comments below any books that you think, if you liked one, you would like the other, and please remember to give this video a like if you liked it, and to subscribe, because I put out new videos every Wednesday, Friday and Sunday, and so I will see you again soon. Bye bye!